Hey, I'm Hannah Weiss, the Director of Education at the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and this is your Moment of STEM. And this week, we're going to talk about the flu. So we are towards the tail end of the flu season here in Virginia, but it has hit us hard. A good number of our staff have come down with the flu or something similar to the flu, and as a result, I've heard a lot of really interesting things about it. So I thought it might be neat to talk a little bit about what the flu actually is. So the flu it's a virus, which may not sound super groundbreaking, but it's a really, really important point to make. A lot of people, they talk about getting the flu and then going and getting antibiotics, which won't do anything, because antibiotics are really, really good against stuff caused by bacteria. And the flu, like I said, it's caused by a virus, an influenza virus. Now, the influenza viruses, they're a type of virus called an orthomyxovirus, which is basically just a really fancy way of saying they look, well, kind of like my friends on the table here, kind of roundish or maybe even like rods. It also means that they're an RNA virus, which tells us a lot about how the flu operates. Some viruses are made up of DNA and others are made up of RNA, and it's a big difference. See, just like DNA, RNA is something that codes for stuff, like protein. But the enzymes that kind of put RNA together, they work really, really quickly, and they're very error-prone. They make a lot of mistakes. So the difference between RNA and DNA is kind of like, well, you remember taking lectures in school, right, and taking notes? A DNA virus, the way it's kind of put together, would be a lot like copying a lecture from the board. If you compare your notes with your neighbor's notes, with your friend's notes across the room, most of them are going to be pretty close. You might have a word misspelled here or there, but every word's going to mostly be the same. An RNA virus, on the other hand, is a lot closer to taking notes from someone talking, from an actual lecture, where you're writing really, really quickly, you're going to miss a word or two, and if you compare your notes to your neighbor's notes, to your friend across the room's notes, they're going to be pretty different. They're definitely all the same lecture, but the actual words that you've gotten down are going to differ wildly. And that's kind of what RNA viruses are like. See, viruses, they can't live by themselves on their own outside of a cell. They need to use our cells to make copies of themselves. And when RNA viruses do that, they do it really, really quickly and not super accurately. So when they burst out of the cells, it's like a cloud of a whole bunch of different versions, meaning that they can change really quickly. And the flu virus is one of these things. Now, another thing you may have heard about the flu virus is a whole bunch of letters kind of going around, right? Like you might hear H1N2 or H1N3 or things like that. And those are different strains. What those H's and N's actually refer to are stuff that's on the top of the flu virus. They're glycoproteins, stuff that's on the surface, ways that we can tell them apart. But when scientists are making the vaccines, they have to predict which strain, H1N1, H2N3, and so on, is going to be kind of the biggest one that's around. And they have to predict that the year before. So sometimes the vaccines that they make are a little bit less effective than others. They can be anywhere from 30% to like 60% effective. However, that doesn't mean that in a year where it's not super effective, you shouldn't get a vaccine. Flu vaccines are really, really helpful in making sure that we have the best defense we can against the flu. It's important that you get them, not just to keep yourself healthy, but also in case there are people around you who can't get the flu vaccine for whatever reason. If you have it, you can also make sure that they have less of a chance of getting the flu. So if you'd like to know any more about the flu, you can check out the links below. Otherwise, I'm Hannah Weiss from the Science Museum of Western Virginia. And did you know the flu was a zoonosis? How cool is that?